Hello again, my friends. I am Pavlo Lapikov and welcome to the Fire Safety Philosophy podcast. I'm not just an engineer behind a desk, I am a field engineer and deep down, still a fire officer at heart. Over the years, I have seen how even the best approved designs can fail in the real world, when the real people are inside. The space between what passes inspection and what truly protects life is why this podcast exists. Because I care about lives. This show isn't only about codes or systems, it's about bigger questions. What does safety really mean? Why do we settle for good enough? How can we build a real safety culture, not just follow rules? I faced danger more than once. Fires, a mine collapse, a fall from height, even high voltage. None of those moments were my fault. They happen because people stop caring. When danger becomes routine and routine feels safe, that's when tragedy begins. And that's what today's episode is about. The invisible danger we stop seeing. The psychology that makes us ignore the risk. The comfort we find in the phrase meets code. As if that's the end of the story. Because meets code is not a promise. It's a permission. And when our minds choose comfort over caution, when optimism bias, normalcy bias, and routine take control, safe enough becomes deadly. So, today's big question is this. Why can meets code still kill? And how does our own psychology help it happen? Alright, let's take a quick break and then we'll jump right back into fire safety philosophy. Today's podcast is brought to you by Fireheart, Fire Safety Marketing Agency. At Fireheart, we help fire safety professionals, companies, and educators share their mission with the world. From bold posters to unforgettable campaigns, we turn safety into culture. Because saving life isn't just about systems, it's about communication. Learn more at fireheartfsma.com. So, let's back to the show. People like rules because they make the world feel organized and safe. When we see a certificate on the wall or a signed inspection report, our brain instantly thinks everything is okay. Psychologists call this the authority effect. We trust official signs more than our own instincts. If a building meets code, we assume someone else already worried about the risk for us. But that's the problem. Codes only measure compliance, not human behavior. They describe what should happen, not what will happen in real life. This is where psychology comes in. Our minds have blind spots that change how we see danger. Optimism bias tells us, it won't happen to me. Normalcy bias whispers, it's never happened here. So it won't. And confirmation bias convinces us. Everything looks fine, so it must be fine. These thoughts make us feel calm, but they are dangerous. They make risk look smaller than they really are. And when we think that way, we stop designing for people. We design for paperwork. In fire safety, people don't die because there are no codes. They die because our minds mistake compliance for protection. Every morning, we do the same things. We make coffee, walk the same hallway, lock the same door. And without knowing it, we start to believe that what feels safe is safe. Psychologists call this the normalcy bias. The idea that if something hasn't happened before, it won't happen now. It's not ignorance. It's how our brains protect us from fear. If we expected danger every day, we couldn't live normally. So our mind edits reality to feel calm and predictable. That's why when alarms go off, people often wait. When they see smoke, they pause. Not because they don't care, but because their brain is still trying to believe everything is fine. I've seen this many times. Office workers walking past smoke, thinking it's just dust. Residents opening windows instead of escaping. Even firefighters sometimes underestimate risk in familiar buildings. Familiarity makes danger invisible, and meets code makes that illusion stronger. It tells people you are safe, someone already checked. But comfort can block action. Think about the last time you ignored an alarm, thinking it was a test. That's not carelessness, that's habit. And when habits repeat, they start to feel like truth. The problem is, fire doesn't care about habits. It follows heat, fuel, and time, not our routines. The more familiar a place feels, the more dangerous that comfort can become. Because comfort creates blindness, and blindness in fire safety kills. Alright, let's take a quick break and then we'll jump right back into fire safety philosophy. This episode is powered by Fireheart, Fire Safety Marketing Agency. We believe safety should be seen, heard, and remembered. That's why Fireheart creates powerful campaigns and visuals that don't just meet compliance, they inspire a culture. If you ever thought, how do I make people actually care about safety, Fireheart is the answer. Check out fireheartofsma.com. So, let's back to the show. Let's look at it another way. Every building is built twice, once with concrete and steel, and once with human trust. When an engineer signs the drawings, when a contractor says finished, when people move in, we all add another layer to the invisible structure of trust. But trust is fragile. It breaks the moment someone thinks someone else already checked it. That's called diffusion of responsibility. It means when everyone is responsible, no one truly feels responsible. That's how missing fire barriers, broken sprinklers, or blocked exits stay hidden for years. Not because nobody noticed, but because nobody felt it was their job to act. There is another side to this, the emotional one. People naturally avoid things that make them uncomfortable, and fear is one of them. So, when we face risk, we often explain it ways to feel better. It's just a drill. It's always been like that. It meets code. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance. The tension between what we know and what we want to believe. To stay calm, our mind changes the story until it feels safe again. But fire doesn't care about feelings. It doesn't wait until we are ready to act. That's why meets code can still kill. Because it gives us mental permission to stop thinking, stop questioning, and stop feeling responsible. Every system, even the best one, has limits because it's created by people. Codes are not perfect. They are built through agreement and compromise. They reflect money, politics, and what people are willing to accept at the time. And because change takes time, many codes stay behind what we already know from past disasters. As humans, we repeat the same patterns. We think we have more control than we do. We forget how unpredictable life really is. And we treat compliance like a finish line. A box checked, a job done, a burden lifted. But fire safety is not a destination. It's a relationship between people, design, and awarenesses. Alright, let's take a quick break and then we'll jump right back into fire safety philosophy. A big thank you to today's sponsor, Fireheart, Fire Safety Marketing Agency. Fireheart exists because fire safety messages deserve modern tools, posters, training programs, creative campaigns. Fireheart makes safety unforgettable because safety isn't just a job, it's a culture. Visit fireheartofsma.com to learn more. So, let's back to the show. So, how do we change this? How do we move from meets code to truly safe? It starts in our minds. We need to think about safety not as a rule to follow, but as a daily habit, something we live, not just check off. The first step is simple. Remember that safety is never finished. Every system, every plan, every inspection has limits. Saying we are safe should never be the end of the talk. It should be the beginning. Next, learn your space. Know where your exits are. Touch the doors. Notice the alarms. When you do that, safety becomes real, not just an idea. Then speak up. If you see something wrong, a blocked door, a missing extinguisher, say something. You don't have to be an engineer to care. Caring is already a form of prevention. And finally, turn compliance into culture. It's not enough that a building meets the code. The people inside must live by it. When safety becomes part of daily life, when we check, teach, remind, and care, the code becomes alive. Safety is not paperwork. It's shared awarenesses between people, and awareness is like a flame. It shines brighter when passed from one person to another. So, my friends, fire safety has never been about passing inspection or collecting certificates. It has always been about people, the ones you share a coffee with in the morning, the ones waiting for you to come home at night, the ones who trust that someone, maybe someone like you or me, made the right decision long before the smoke ever rises. When we say meets code, we are not just stamping a document. We are deciding how much life is worth and how much risk we are willing to accept in exchange for convenience, time, or cost. That's why safety must never stop at compliance. It must live in awarenesses, in care, and in the courage to ask for more than minimums. Because a building that meets code is always a safe one, and a system that works on paper doesn't always protect in practice. This was episode 7 of the Fire Safety Philosophy Podcast. Blind to fire risk, why meets code can still kill. Next time, on Wednesday, we go even deeper. The episode is called Fire Safety, a Human Right. We'll ask a bold question. What if safety from fire wasn't just a technical standard, but a human right? We'll talk about the people most at risk, the elderly, workers, renters, children, and how neglecting safety isn't just bad design, it's injustice. Because when safety becomes a privilege, lives become negotiable. So before the next episode, think about this. You can choose where to live, where to work, where to travel, but should your right to survive a fire depend on where you were born or how much you earn? If today made you think, hit subscribe, share this with a colleague or a friend, and leave me a review. That's how we build this community together. I am Pavlo Lapikov, care about lives, think beyond compliance. Until next time, stay thoughtful, stay safe, and don't play with matches. Bye bye!